Hello, I'm Jonathan Lost. Hello, I'm Jonathan Loss of the Cartographers Society, and I've been asked to address you on behalf of the Cartographers Society in terms of map interpretation. Now, for those of you that don't necessarily know, a map is supposed to lead you to somewhere, usually a location, although I believe in this instance we've had many requests from those who are searching for Mama Sadooks treasure location. We don't keep records of those sort of things at the Cartography Ministry, but I can assure you we can help you to find your location if you have a map. Now, I'm going to refer to the map that I have just over here. So if you will just allow me to step over to the map room. Yeah. Right, so here we are. Here's the map behind us of the Azure Sea, as you can see. Yeah, it's a bit of a joke there. You can see the sea. They're spelt differently though, so bear that in mind. Now, there have been some cryptic things. Usually we use coordinates, so you would have coordinates for say Mans Strait here, or Mans Sakari, as it's known. You would have coordinates, and that would allow you to move around the map. A lot easier than what you've been given. Now, I believe. Give me a second here. Right. So there's some cryptic clues that have been given out. Now, this Sadook fellow obviously doesn't know anything about navigation, because otherwise they'd just give you the coordinates. It'd be a lot easier, wouldn't it? Nonetheless, so if we look at the clues that have been given so far, thus far, that is to say, the clues that you have gotten, they're quite cryptic. Now, I am not going to interpret them for you. That's your job. But I have got some similar coordinates for a different thing altogether, which we'll use as a demonstration as to how to use the map in terms of finding this Mama Sadooks Sudoku. So let's say can't see in the dark. So can't see in the dark. Maybe that's the first clue. Can't see in the dark. If that's your first clue, you've got to sort of look at the map. Now I really do have to look at where is the map? It's behind me. All right. So can't see in the dark. It's a bit of a humdinger, isn't it? But if you know the map like I do, it does call to mind one specific location. If I move it down here, there, down there, I should say. Can't see in the dark. Darkenwald, or Darkenwald, as it would be pronounced by some people. Darkenwald, as it would be pronounced by the locals. Darkenwald is definitely a potential for the clue. So how do we know? How do we know if that's the right one? Well, we look at the second one. And the second one says north to under sink. North to under sink. So, working on the hypothesis that Drachenwald is our location, if we then go north of Drachenwald is something to do with under the sink, some sort of culinary thing, I suppose. So, let's just look up the map. Under the sink. We're looking for something under the sink. Well, I have to say, if you look up there, over there, you've got Sunken Bay, which is definitely to the north of Drachenwald. So perhaps that might work as our next location. So now Sunken Bay is our point of origin. And then the next clue, and this is the last clue I'm going to go through, because I think you're kind of smart enough to get the idea. And if you're not, you shouldn't be looking for this Momo's opossum. So the sunken bay is the next clue is east blown, hard as stone. Well, that kind of rhymes, doesn't it? East blown, hard as stone, or east blown, hard as stone. Well, all right. East blown, hard as stone. What rhymes with east blown hard as stone? Well, Kraken bone. Mountains is east. East. North. East. South. No, south. South. And then west would be over there. So east of our sunken bay. East blown hard as stone. The Kraken bone, I suppose, is hard as stone. And then the final clue, I know I said I'd only give you 4, but we're generous here at the Cartographers Society. I'm going to give you the 4th one. Up and around you spin. Well, that's an easy one. Rax Wrath. Yes, Rax Wraith. Hurricane. Spinning. And so forth. And so we can see that we come from the bottom of the map to the top of the map and across the map, following those clues, and each clue tells you that the last one was correct or not. So if we hadn't got dark involved, if we'd guessed, say, I don't know, Manos, and we went north of Manos, because it says north under sink, we went north of Manos, well, I suppose we have the sunken jungles, which is north of Manos, yes. But then, when we are east blown, hard as stone, if we go directly east, we have the Little Kraken Mountains and we have the Windswift Ocean, which doesn't really sort of link together, really. So it sort of implies that perhaps there's a mistake. So if you just ignored and went, oh, well, Kraken bone, and then you went up and around you spin and you go, oh, it must be the hurricane. Well, you've ended up in the same place, haven't you? Even though you started in the wrong place. So no fair if you don't know where to start, because sometimes maps have a way of bringing you back to where you started, or at least a lack of map brings you back to where you started because you're on in a circle. Do you understand? So, nonetheless, that is the amazing thing that is a map and following coordinates. All right, back to the aquarium. I want to show you something quickly. Right. So, part of this whole thing, the Cartographers Society has decided, this map hunting thing, we know that there's lots of treasure involved. Treasure from World Anvil, from Dungeon Fog, from How to Be a Great GM, and even from Nerdarchy. There is also more treasure involved, in the form of the treasure coming from Dungeons and Dragons themselves. And the first one, the one that I think is very exciting, is this limited edition version of the Ghosts of Saltmarsh book. Beautiful cover with a wonderful illustration of of the Sahagin on the cover. Very pretty. Very, very, very pretty. So that's part of the treasure. But then they decided, well, that book wouldn't do on its own. So they've sort of included this package as well, which is all of the rule books and a screen that you might need in order to be able to use that Ghosts of Saltmarsh book. So it's a remarkable thing that the Cartography Society has got so involved in giving these away. Some of them might get lost in the post, so you won't get all of them. I'm just saying, some of them might not make it, but you should remain true and hopeful that once you've solved this treasure of Mama Sadooks, you'll be absolutely fine. That's all that I have to offer you from the Cartography Society today. I do hope it's been very useful. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go and hide some treasure rewards so they don't get sent out. Till later. Bye-bye.